Call of Duty is back. Yes, I thought I'd be saying that a few weeks ago because they seem to really like to push out their games once every few years or so, but they've had a bit of a break. You see, there wasn't exactly the best reception for the last titles in their franchise, and whilst Cold War was meh, I would say, on most people's expectations, Warzone has really been the forefront of their attention since, free-to-play Battle Royale, what more could you really want? That's where the real money is at, am I right? But hey, it had to be coming at some point. A fully fledged, full mainline title in the Call of Duty franchise, and that has finally been announced in the form of Call of Duty Vanguard. And of course, because of the most successful Call of Duty game in recent years, Call of Duty World War II, there was all the reason to go back to the biggest conflict in human history, right? Sledgehammer Games have decided to take Call of Duty Vanguard back to the Second World War. But people are asking why. Of course, as teased and mentioned, and we've just been shown in some of the gameplay trailers, Call of Duty Vanguard will be set in World War II, taking us through the Second World War, the conflicts that we see on each of the fronts, and whilst many people are skeptical because of the recent Call of Duty games, it does look like there's going to be a lot of content in it, specifically 20 maps in total upon launch, which is the most of any Call of Duty game to this day. 20 maps, a lot, especially on the launch day. Normally you get 10, 11, 12 on the initial launch, and then more gets released as updates come out, but 20, they are really pushing the boat out, and you'll see as we get into a bit later why they really need to be doing this. But looking into those maps, they're going to be based around the four main fronts: North Africa, the Eastern Front, Western Front, and the Pacific. I'm really happy they're looking into North Africa, since that theatre of war seems to get looked over so much in pretty much any media. Everyone, when they're talking about World War II, focuses on either the Western Front with Germany versus, of course, America, France, UK, or the Pacific, because most media is written by Americans, and that was their main fighting against the Japanese. Whilst the Eastern Front does get some look into it with the Russians, of course, there isn't all that much in Northern Africa. We've had bits here and there in the past, and some games have kind of glossed upon it, but even when it comes to movies and TV shows, it never really seemed to be a massive part of World War II. So I'm really happy with Sledgehammer Games going in and focusing on this less well-treated area of history. Speaking of these 20 maps that we're going to be getting on launch, these can all be modified through the gameplay, and of course this comes with that, well, I don't think they're calling it Levolution at this point in time, but that sort of destructive environment and dynamically changing terrain. You'll be able to destroy buildings, vehicles will be able to make their own paths through the terrain, and of course there'll be much smaller destruction, like blowing up furniture, using it as cover, or completely destroying someone's beloved home as you storm in to find those hiding Nazis. Buildings can come down, you can shoot holes in walls, and they've kind of just left that quite vague, but I'm imagining something quite like Rainbow Six Siege, probably not as refined, but hey, it's another addition, being able to create your own environments and cover in order to change the games dynamically. I love it when games do that sort of thing. Now, a select few influencers and journalists have been shown some actual proper gameplay of Call of Duty Vanguard. Unfortunately, I'm just a small-time girl, so I don't think we'll be seeing any of that anytime soon. But apparently it follows a British paratrooper at D-Day, someone that I think we saw in the announcement reveal. He's in Operation Market Garden, going behind the enemy lines in the nighttime, trying to infiltrate behind the German lines. But it starts in disaster, planes getting shot down, people dying left, right, and center, and having to cut loose from the parachute and landing on his own behind the enemies. The Germans will then proceed to hunt the player down while they have to sneak around and try and find places to hide, slowly picking off one by one, not being able to take them all out at once because you're just a lone soldier and having to use your stealth and strategy in order to complete the missions. I love stuff like this, really utilizing the stealth within games and kind of going a bit the horror direction, because that's how you really get across the tragedy of war, is to immerse the player in missions like this and to well, scare the shit out of them, for lack of a better term. But this is just one of so many missions. The whole campaign will be on multiple fronts with multiple characters, and these will all be based off real people, and of course allegedly based off their missions in the war. However, calm down, this is Call of Duty after all, so that's probably as close to accurate history as the game will get. We've never seen anything that accurate in Call of Duty in the past, and especially with Call of Duty World War II, they kind of strayed away from that, so it'll be based off real characters, but that's probably about as far as they go. And overall, I'm really excited to see the size of it. I think that's the main thing that is drawing people in, is how much content that they're trying to bring into this Call of Duty game. A lot of variety in maps, characters, and fronts to fight on. Of course, the game is called Call of Duty Vanguard, so it's going to be focusing on the squads that were in the front lines, following the people at the forefront of the war. Judging by the announcement trailer, you can see possibly Stalingrad, of course, the Russian snipers in there. We also see the Battle of Foy, maybe, with the snow in the Western Front, fighting in the SDKFZs in the German army. Of course, Operation Market Garden with D-Day as mentioned before, and you can see some stuff from the Pacific battles, whether it's Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, or maybe some other places there. But nonetheless, it looks like we're going to be seeing quite a few more beach landing missions, which, can they just give these up, right? Every time there's a World War II game, there has to be a beach landing, whether it's D-Day or as we see here in the Pacific against the Japanese defending their islands. Look, we've seen it all. I know, it's cool, it's epic, it's terrifying, and it really immerses you in World War II, but it's been done a billion times before. I think it's time to move away from that now. And the final thing we do know about Call of Duty Vanguard is, of course, well, there's going to be zombies. You kind of expected. It's kind of the Call of Duty staple at this point, and especially a Call of Duty game set in World War II. We're going to get Nazi zombies? Kamikaze zombies? I don't know. But this is kind of where the good news ends. Of course, it sounds quite good on paper, right? But this is Call of Duty. They've kind of had some rough patches, at least in the last 5 to 10 years. They've rarely had a game that has been widely successful like Battlefield 3 and 4 were, and maybe even Battlefield 1. And whilst both franchises have been in a really rough patch lately, with both of their last games being kind of unsuccessful, they really need to bring something big out this time. And whilst Battlefield have 2042, I think the hype for that game is way bigger than the hype that Call of Duty Vanguard has been able to muster up, and I think that's kind of got a lot to do with World War II. People said 5 years ago they wanted these big franchises to stop doing modern day, and then they went back to history. They went back to World War I, World War II, and then Battlefield doing their version of World War II again, and it didn't turn out great, let's be honest, and they kind of got a bit confused. Battlefield decided, screw it, let's go way off into the future, 2042, let's have wingsuits and hurricanes, tuk-tuks and tanks. That's all we need. Everybody is excited and everybody's happy. It looks like they're returning to form, especially with Battlefield Portal. And Call of Duty's solution was to do the same thing that they did a few years ago, going back to World War II. Now that could work out well, they could refine it and actually make a World War II game that people like, which would be a bit of a surprise, but the most likely is it's just gonna flop again. People don't want another World War II Call of Duty game because they don't do it properly. Call of Duty doesn't work like that. The game mechanics lend it so much to the modern war, with fully automatic weapons, with one-man armies, with cool epic battle sequences. That wasn't World War II. People enjoy games like Hell Let Loose or Postscriptum because of the realism, because of the bolt action rifles, because that's how history was. And Call of Duty hasn't done World War II right since its first few games, and I don't know if it's going to start doing it now. But please let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good idea for Call of Duty to go back to World War II? I think it's a very much a mixed bag. The content that they're showing looks kind of good, and I'm kind of looking forward to it, but there's so much of a track history with this time period in Call of Duty in the last few years that it may end up just being the same thing over and over again. Let me know down in the comments, but leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.